Okay. How do I make your screen big so I can see it better? Your
Okay.
Photoshop screen.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Yeah, you can see the screen right now. Go click on this three dot menu you have, and there you will have option of change layout. Click on that, and then choose spotlight.
It's still your screen's very small. I think because you have this
So can you see
can you
the
take
spot?
away the can you take away the writing? The it's like writing
Can you see
it's
now?
saying
Is it coming big?
it's pretty small. It's just because the words are here too. The words weren't here before, so the your what you say and what I say it.
Oh, you'll have to switch off the sharing in that case. I think you have already
Um,
also shared the screen.
where's the button for the writing part?
This writing which is coming up, that is what you are saying.
Yeah,
This CC button you see,
yes. Okay,
click
there it
on.
goes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
all right. And if you are,
Captions.
yeah, you can also make it full screen if you want. Your browser can go full screen, right? Safari can go
I
full screen, yes.
yeah. Yeah, that's better.
So you can make it full screen. Now you can see it better.
Yeah,
Very well.
thank you.
So yeah. So today the exercise will be leveraging Photoshop. And what I mean by saying leveraging Photoshop is that Photoshop should not be used as a tool to paint, right? In the traditional way. So ideally, when we paint things on a paper, what do? We apply things layer by layer, but all of those layers merge eventually, and we don't have any way to segregate them if something goes wrong in the underneath layer, right? So whatever we do is permanently done, and if we utilize Photoshop in the same way, then there is no benefit of having a software so powerful to do the painting or do the stuff we want to do with it. So today's exercise is going to be focused on leveraging the benefits of Photoshop. So I'll start with a new file, and we will try to create one single ball, but we will start from scratch completely. And as we progress, we will learn how we can segregate the visual attribution of a form in different layers. Okay, and basically how we can tweak up the thing separately. So we will start with a new layer, and we will create a circular selection first thing in the center, and we can fill it with a solid color, right? I have this color selected, any color will do. So I'm just gonna fill this up with this solid color, Alt plus backspace on the keyboard, and say Control D to get rid of the selection. Now this is a flat circle.
One second. Alt plus backspace. So I just need to every time you say something, I have to invert it to Apple. So it's option plus
Yeah,
backspace, right?
it's okay. I'll use the Mac commands in that case.
So
So
option
it's
option
option delete,
option
delete.
plus delete
Yeah. So that's gonna fill the
equal,
color.
and that fills the color.
Yeah, that fills the color. Okay.
And then the old-fashioned way is to go. If I was going to
And
go do it the slow way, then it's I
paint
have
bucket
to
tool.
paint bucket.
Yeah, and then fill it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So we have a flat circle there at the center, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we need the challenge today's challenge is to turn this flat looking circle into a ball, a sphere, right? And make the shadow of the sphere also sort of try to give it a texture of some kind. So that is what we will be doing today. Now this layer has the midtones, the flat color, consider it midtone, and we will create couple of more layers on top of it, and we will name them shadow and highlight, and we will be not painting directly on layer 1. The idea here is to segregate the midtone from shadows and highlights and keep them on top of each other so that we can tweak all of them separately. Now shadows is going to be the darker version of the same color which is used in the midtone. So in order to make a selection around it, I'll hold command and then click on the thumbnail of layer 1, which will activate the selection.
Okay.
Now the
Can you
shadow,
repeat that? Like, why did you do that?
come again, your voice crumpled
Okay.
actually.
So tell me what you're trying to do again.
I am trying to
To
make the selection here around the content of layer 1 so that I can apply shadow on the layer above it. Because if I don't have an active selection and I start painting with brush tool, it will spill over, right?
so, but what you did is you clicked layer 1,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah.
Um,
I held command and clicked on the layer thumbnail, layer 1 thumbnail
so
here.
you held command and um and clicked layer 1, and
Yeah,
then but then you went and then you clicked a shadow.
yeah. Shadow layer is active. I just needed this selection on the shadow layer. Remember, selection is independent of layers, so I can make selection from anywhere and use it
Okay.
anywhere else.
But what did the command do when you held command when you clicked the
Come,
layer 1? Why wouldn't you just click layer 1?
because that will not make the selection active. If I just click on layer 1, the selection will not be active.
Okay.
If I
Okay.
hold command and then click on layers thumbnail, not here. Clicking here would not do anything. I need to click here in the thumbnail. Then the selection will be active. And now I need to switch to the layer above that, which is shadows.
So click in, what is that little box called?
Thumbnail, layer thumbnail.
In the thumbnail. Okay, thank you. Yeah, there was just a lot of little information there.
Now I switch to brush tool. Next thing I'll do is make sure that I have a darker color selected. So I'll double click on the color picker and drag it down and try to find out a darker color to paint the shadows. Then I'm gonna say OK. Maybe go even slightly more darker than this. Say OK, and the brush is loaded with the color of my choice. Now I need to just increase the size of the brush, which I can do by using bracket keys on the keyboard. The bracket keys, or you can right click with the brush tool active and then change the size from here. I always use the shortcut, that is more handy for me.
So use bracket tool um,
Yeah, and
to
here,
to I need to write down a whole to increase brush size
yeah,
and yeah, I just feel like and then or right click uh, for brush menu.
correct.
And you
And
right click while on your ball.
anywhere, if the brush tool is active, you click anywhere inside the white space, it will give you this menu. If you click outside, then it will not give you that
Okay. Okay.
menu. Okay, so I'm going to right click and then here make sure that the hardness is set to 0. It will only work if the hardness is 0. Okay, because I want a softer shadow. Now, second thing I'm going to do is make the opacity go around 30%. Brush tool should be active. The size should be, you know, as per your desire. The bigger is better, actually. And it should be the softest possible brush. That means hardness should be set to 0 and the opacity should be around 30%. Now, if I start painting, you will see the shadow is coming here. I'm assuming that the light is coming from top right corner, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
paint the shadows. And as I do so, you see the ball is instantly getting some 3D effect.
Hmm.
So why I did 30%? Because I wanted to apply the shadow on multiple passes. If I go for 100%, I may not be able to apply it correctly at one go. So because I
Yes.
want to do it on multiple times, that's why I set it to 30. Now, in case something goes wrong, let's say that I have overdone and painted on this area also. So we shouldn't worry about that. All we have to do is hit E on the keyboard, E for eraser. Hit E on the keyboard, it will select the eraser tool. Then right click and then again double check if the hardness is set to 0 or not. Hardness should be set to 0. And then go here and check if the opacity is lower than the application rate. So it is about 15%, which is fine. Now I'm going to increase the size of the brush by using the bracket keys. The right bracket key increases the size, the left bracket key decreases the size. And then I'm simply going to erase the area where I don't want the color to be applied. So essentially I can go back and fro by hitting B for choosing brush and applying the shadow where I want. And if I overdone it, I can hit E and refine it further. So you continue doing it till the time you are happy with the result. B for brush, E for eraser. So I have painted the shadow here. If I switch off the layer 1, you will see the shadow still is there, right? And if I switch on the layer 1, the color will come because it has the color information. Most of the color information, hue information is in midtones. That's a flat solid color I have applied here on layer 1. On the shadows, we have gone with a darker version of the same hue. On the highlight, now I'm going to paint with a different color. So select the highlight, make sure that the selection is active, then double click on this. And this time, I remember that I have selected the hue from here. So I'm gonna go towards the left hand side to pick a lighter color. Okay, I'll not completely go white because otherwise that would appear as if color is completely gone from there and uh, the material would look very glossy. I don't want to do that. So I'll make sure that some tint of the same hue remains there and then say okay. Now on the highlight, I'm going to just paint here and see it looks more 3D now. Same goes
Hmm.
for highlight also. If you have overdone it, just switch to eraser by hitting E on the keyboard and you can again regain back the shadow areas. So we are not removing the shadows but rather painting highlights on top of it but in a separate layer. I can again switch back to the highlight, continue painting the highlight by switching to brush tool. So till the time I'm satisfied, I'll keep on doing it. And once I'm happy, I'll just switch to the move tool. And let's review what we have done. I'm gonna switch off layer 1 and this is the result. If I switch off the highlight, I switch off the shadow, nothing is there. Layer 1 has the midtone, shadow has the shadow information, highlight has the highlight information. Now, to make it look more believable, we'll have to do few more things, such as highlights needs to lose all the black information, right? Even though it seems as if it does not have any black in it, but it would be a good idea to switch the blend mode of the highlight layer to screen. Okay,
Okay, so, okay, let me start again with that. So I was just like listening. Um, So you're in highlight,
Yeah, the blend mode of the highlight layer should
and
be
then
set to
what is
screen.
that box called?
This is blend
Go to blend
mode.
mode box
And from the
in.
drop down, you'll have to choose screen. If you are screen essentially leaves all the black information behind. It treats black as transparent. Memorize that. Screen treats black as transparent. So since highlight does not have to
One
have
second.
black in it,
Screen turns
not turns, treats
treats
black as transparent.
black as transparent.
Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So for the shadow, we will have to let go of the white if there is any white in it at all. And that we can achieve by changing the blend mode to multiply, which is opposite of screen. So for the
Okay.
shadows, the
So
blend
so
mode should be
for when
multiply.
we were in highlight, what did you do something to it in highlight?
I changed the blend mode in the highlight to screen,
So highlight, you switch to screen,
and shadows I switched to multiply.
and shadow multiply.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Now after doing this, I think it looks more vibrant because I have successfully managed to allocate the correct attributes in separate layers and change the blend mode as well. Now is the time when I say Control D to deselect and have a look at it. Yes, it's looking fine. It's looking like a 3D, form. Now to make it more look more convincing, we will have to create a shadow, right? No, sorry, not shadow, cast shadow. Right now, this is just the shade we have created on the board. We'll have to cast shadow or give it a, as if it has a reflection on the ground. Let's make the ground first. So for making the ground, what I'll do, I'll go to the background layer and create a layer above this. Okay, and here I'm going to use the rectangular marquee tool and simply click and then drag to make a selection and fill this selection with light gray color. Alt Option plus delete.
One second. You're losing me because I'm still taking notes from before. Um, above background layer, make another layer. Then with the marquee tool, make rectangular box um, for ground, right? That's all you've done, right?
Yeah, and filled it with light gray color.
And fill with light gray.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Now this makes the surface on which the ball is supposed to be kept. Now I'll invert the selection by saying Control Shift I on the
Okay. So
keyboard.
you're going to invert. One second. Invert
Command Shift I.
the selection. What does that mean?
See, earlier it was selecting the area where I filled gray color. If I say Command Shift I, it's gonna invert the selection, and I would fill a lighter gray, lighter than the color I filled earlier to make the back
Oh,
wall.
okay. Hold on. So Command
Shift
Shift
I,
Shift I
invert
inverts
selection.
the selection. So it goes. How do you explain that? It goes.
It
It
inverts
goes
the
to the,
selection.
yeah. It goes to the upper area that doesn't have color.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm
Now
just
I'm
going to draw my.
moving.
Hold on. Let me just draw myself a quick little picture so that I'm
Lisa,
on.
I'll be sharing the video also with you. This is getting recorded.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can watch the video later on.
Okay.
Yeah. You can actually practice along with the video also. So
Okay.
yeah. Now this selection, I have selected a lighter gray than the gray I filled in here, and I'm going to create it as a wall. So again, Option Delete to fill the lighter gray, and Command D to deselect. Okay, so it appears as if a ball is kept on the ground, but not so convincing right now, right? So the next thing would be to create a here some a cast shadow, because the light is coming from this side. We can create a cast shadow here, and to do that, I can use the elliptical marquee tool and make a selection like so, and create a layer above layer 2 here, and we will call it cast shadow. Okay, and then we will fill it with a dark color. Now cast shadows are always black, right? In material, uh, irrespective of the color of the light, the cast shadow will always be black. The shade will have some hue in it, but the cast shadow is always going to be dark. So I'm also gonna go and then choose a dark color and say Option Delete on the keyboard. Sorry, Option Delete on the keyboard. Accidentally, I had pressed Command Delete. Now I'm gonna say Command D to deselect. How does it look now?
Good.
Good.
It looks good, but there shouldn't be a shadow on that side, should it? Like,
Here, yes, a little bit of shadow should also be here because
okay.
light is coming from this direction. So,
Yeah, so it goes down that way. Yeah.
right, a little bit of it, just a tad, yeah. And the shadow is very harsh. Uh, the cast shadow is very sharp and harsh. So what we can do is to soften it, is blur it a little bit. And the way we can do it is by converting this into a smart object first. To do that, I'm going to right click on this and choose convert to smart object. There is a reason why I converted it to a smart object. I could have just straight away went to filter and used Gaussian blur on that, but that would be a destructive way of applying the Gaussian blur, right? So I
Right.
want to do a dynamic, you know, maintain a dynamic workflow. So I'm gonna convert this into a smart object and then go to the filter gallery, choose blur, and then choose Gaussian blur. And here, see what happens if I increase the radius. The shadow is going softer, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm not gonna go crazy and then do it like this because it would appear as if the ball is levitating in the midair. This is also not good because if the edges are so sharply defined, there is no anti-aliasing. How come the shadows are so soft? Also, the specular, the highlight and the contrast in the highlight and the shade tells me that the light source is pretty close to the subject. So I'm gonna make it just a little bit blur, convincing enough. This much is fine, right? Maybe go 10, yeah, but not more than that. And
Yeah.
then say okay. All right. Now another thing is there is no limit how convincing we can make it. The cast shadow should fade away because the intensity of the shadow should be more here and less here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how we can achieve that? We can achieve that with the help of masking. So we are going to mask the shadow layer here by clicking here. You must have done the masking exercise. I sent you the videos also. So
I
all we have
watched
to
it. There
do,
wasn't any exercise.
but you
No, there
did
was.
understand.
There
There
was. I
was,
did the
right?
New York City thing.
Okay. So now I have masked this layer, and on the mask, what I'm going to do is create a gradient from black to white. So for gradient, I'll choose the gradient tool, and I'll have to create a black to white gradient. So I'm gonna click here and then drag it. all the way here. Now this is exactly the opposite I wanted, right? I should have actually clicked here and then dragged this side, but this is fine. I can always say Control I to invert the mask, Control I, Command I to invert the mask, and I'll get the result I'm looking for. Okay, or I can try again from this side a couple of times to get the right result. And I think this time we did a good job, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, this time we did a good job. This looks fine. Okay, so it looks as if the ball is kept on the ground now because of the cast shadow we have managed to create. If we are not happy with the placement, since this is on a separate layer, we can still use the arrow keys, make sure that the move tool is selected, and we can use the arrow key to refine the position of the cast shadow. Okay. Now the next thing is it has the shadow now, but the ground, let's say that ground will, even if it is matte, it will have some sort of reflection. Right? Shadow is fine, but what about the reflection? We'll have to put some reflection also. So to do that, I'm going to select all these three layers, which has the midtone, shadow, and highlight, and then group them together. So the way we do it is by Command G on the keyboard. So this group has the ball. Let's call it ball. Now I need to make the copy of the entire ball layer, right? So the way we can do it is by pressing Control J, Command J, and then we will have a copy of the ball. Now this bottom layer, essentially what we have here is two groups, and each group has this ball in it. So I have made a copy of this one, and I need to go to Edit, choose Transform, and flip it vertically. The bottom layer, flip it vertically. Seems as if nothing happened, but if I drag it down, make sure, see, this layer is below. In your case, auto select might be on. So if you click on this, you might be affecting the top layer. So make sure that auto select is off, right? And then make sure that this bottom layer is selected, and then click and then drag it down. That way, hold shift if you want to constrain the proportion, which ideally we should, and then bring it somewhere around here. Okay. Also, because of the perspective and the surface is like plain flat, we need to transform it a little bit. So I'm gonna say Control T to bring the free transform, and then push it down a little. But as I do so, I see that it is proportionally getting smaller, and this is not what we want, right? What we want rather is this. Okay. So I'm holding shift on the keyboard and then dragging it from this side to get something like this. Now, the better result can be achieved actually by making the ball slightly smaller and then right clicking on it and then choosing perspective and dragging it from this corner. This will give you a better result. And then maybe you can hold again, right click and choose scale, and then hold shift and then do it like this. The idea is to match the inclination of the ground with the reflection. Now it is too harsh, obviously. So what we can do is apply a mask on the entire group. Okay. So the group is selected. We will click on mask, and the mask gets applied here. Then we are going to either switch to the gradient tool, or we can load up the brush and do it manually. This time I would prefer to do it manually. We can, however, try doing it with gradient also, but let's do it manually. All we have to do is paint with black color on the mask, right? I usually go with 30% opacity. That gives me freedom to do it in multiple passes. And let's just paint it. So completely non-destructive adjustments we are doing here. We can retain back the information anytime we
Why
want.
is it
And
with the black color? Just curious.
which black color?
You're painting with the black color, so why paint with the black color? What is the reasoning?
Uh, Black conceals, white reveals. Remember the mask chapter?
Yeah,
Yeah.
black,
So black
white
conceals
conceal.
and white reveals. So on the mask, what I did, I painted it with black. Wherever I painted with black, that part is hidden now.
I just forgot that part.
Yeah. All right, no problem. So now how this ball looks. We have started from completely, this is what we have started from. Let me show you. This is how we started, right? And we converted this entire thing by adding information over information to something like this. Okay? Do you like to do this much first today?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
I can do this.
All right then. So I'm just going to save it and then pass it on to you. You can refer this thing and then try doing something similar. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Rajiv. I'm sorry I get frustrated. It's
Hey,
just
that's no
frustrating
problem.
not being able to do things
No problem at
and
all.
not I I I
I
wish I was not born in this time where we had to use computers. I like it so much better.
don't say
I
that.
wish I
I
was
totally
born like
agree.
I was born a man about 50 years ago. Then I would have been in a great shape.
No, no, nothing
Then
like
I
that.
could have been